at the things stand now, the movements are not only located at different places, but the leadership subscribe to different ideologies. Say in Narayanpatna, the leadership is with, can we say, radical communist, not Maoists, but radical communists. Like. On the other hand, you suppose I go to Balko movement, then there we find people subscribing to there. So these leadership having different ideological perspective, it is very difficult, though they are coming together on the minimum ground that no displacement should be caused to the people, to the tribals or to Dalits. But ideologically they are at such a, they are so divergent that integration becomes a little difficult. They are trying to agree on certain common ground, and that common ground being the life and livelihood of the people must be protected. There they all agree. But at a larger questions, I think they have lots of variations. They do not agree with each other. Therefore, if you are forcing some kind of combination to occur in this state, which can really provide provide an opposition to the establishment onslaught, I think it will take some time. It's not that easily achievable. I don't see it's achievable.
Not this time. I mean, as you pointed out, that the one main problem is that all of them differ so much from each other ideologically. What it basically implies is that one group might have had a certain experience from which a certain ideology has emerged. Their engagement with possibly some sort of text, but also concrete engagement, which they think is the way to go about it for all situations. And each is trying to do that. Each is trying to say that, we are the ones who have the right path, and you are the ones going wrong. So perhaps the terms of engagement on some level need to sort of take into account the fact that no one way can completely, explain everything and solve all problems. So, do you think there is a possibility of each of them, each group at least, giving this credit to the other, that is also emerging from an experience?
Previously, I had seen these groups used to be very critical of each other. But now, since that thing has come down, it's not. I don't find them to be very critical of each other. So, that being the indication, you can always say that probably they are trying to give each other credit. That's there. Therefore, but again, there is a limit to that, to what extent they can give credit. They are also not ready to give credit for everything that they are doing. But but the ideology they subscribe to, they are quite rigid about it.
Do you think there is a possibility that the conditions that various movements and the way organizations are coming together, the objective conditions being created might be such that they will be forced to break this rigidity? That the sort of institutionalization that has happened, that they become so rigid, they're completely not rigid. Do you think there's a possibility that objective conditions might force them into questioning themselves?
You see, objective conditions, they vary from place to place, from moment to moment. So yes, I find somebody who is leading a movement at some place is quite in agreement with the other person leading in another place. Though again, ideologically, they are opposed to, they are different. But they go and support him. So again, it answers your question that the objective condition, yes, forces the fellow to agree with, but again, in that particular locale, not outside of it.
And one thing that we often talk about among others, since we are located in Delhi, against the war movements, there are a lot of organizations which are forced to come together and understand that the problems that they're facing immediately, in the sense of that the state is coming hard about them. It might be liberation in Coimbatore, or it might be somebody else somewhere else, some other organization somewhere else. But they understand that by and large the state is using the jargon of you're a Maoist, we'll kill you, right, and will force movement down, and that is forcing them to come together. But the next step obviously is that okay, you come to a common platform, understand that we are facing a similar sort of repression. The next step would be to engage with each other in a continued manner, in which case you will be forced to change yourself and the other, so that a common I'm not talking about a leadership in the sense of maybe an organized party, but a common understanding can develop of the Indian situation per se. Of course, if you have to take that old sort of Marxist line, then we understand that the transformation cannot be localized. Questions might be localized, but so what would you say about that? Meaning that
actually, in Orissa also the similar thing is happening. Say for example, police is looking for somebody, and and they have already dubbed him that he is a terrorist or something, Maoist, something, and they are after him. Then others who are actually in people's movement, though they are not that radical as the person whom the police is pursuing, but these people are apprehending that unless we oppose police pursuing that fellow, the same fate may occur to us. So that is also happening in Orissa. But I have again, this is okay. This is again a kind of self-defense. But to what extent, as you are telling, as you are actually coming to a common platform and fighting or creating a kind of even an idea, because a new ideology can come out of it. With all these integrations, we can think of something of greater interest and challenge the establishment's onslaught on us. So that probably requires more hard work in terms of self-introspection as well as mutual exchange of ideas and more involvement, engagement in each other's activities. But in Orissa actually this is growing. It is not that sectarianism which used to be earlier there, it is probably breaking. That is what I am finding as an independent observer, uninvolved observer. Maybe it will be too premature to say at this stage that it is going to really take off very soon. I don't see that in a foreseeable future, but it is happening. It has started.
But movements in Orissa or West Bengal or all in all these tribal areas are at this point being understood either in terms of state repression or in terms of the protection of resources and whatever that entails. The other thing which, if we are to think about movements and people's struggle, is to think about it in terms of actual struggle for political power. In the sense that if we are talking about self-determination of people's rights to determine their own lives, then it is a direct challenge to the state and to simply to the power structure in itself. Do you think that, say in Orissa, when at least when these organizations in their literatures or when they write and say talk to each other, these movements are being understood in those terms? Are they going beyond, say, simply resources and to actually a question of political power transformation?